So the front axle puller came in yesterday, so let's have a look at it. And then maybe we'll go out and use it. About that seal in the front axle of that Rockwell. So here we go. Spin this around. Have a good old look inside here. See what we got. Never mind my hand in the way. Not a bad puller set. Just under 70 bucks. Delivered. So we're going to test it out, see how it works. So while we're right here, I'm going to grab one of the new seals from Rockwell. The anti-wobble setup. So let's crack into these new ones here. Just take out one. Package. Let's get all fancy. See how big can you go? I don't think you can go that big. Oh, maybe you can. Yes, you can. Drop it in. Oh yeah. I think that's what we're going to use. Is that one right there. And of course, on the pull-out one, it's not going to matter that we wreck the seal. So that is the one that we'll use. Alright, so that's what we'll use. Get our slide hammer. I'm assuming it goes like that. Alright. This nut on here first. Spin that all the way up in here. 2 hours later, we'll have this threaded all the way up. Slide that on there. Dun, 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 dun. Alright, we'll get that fairly tight. T-handle. Little slide action, we're ready to go. It's the 1 3/8 to 2 7/8. It's the biggest. And there is, I think that's what we're going to need. I don't think we need the spreader handle. The spreader or anything. I think that's what's going to do the trick. So, here we have 2 slide hammers. The original one that came with the set, nicely machined, but considerably smaller than the red one. And we have the red one, Not so nicely machined, more like a barbell. But you'll notice that the hole where the slide goes is about the same. So, as a non-mod, as I like to call them, I had to switch slide hammers so I had more force because we needed it. So, that slide hammer came from a American-made slide hammer that I bought years ago. However, I couldn't just use it because the pieces aren't the same. So it won't just hook in there like the other one will. So I couldn't use it, but I could use the hammer itself. Plus, what would have been nice is that the slide itself, the length of the slide is longer. But that other piece is a bit more machined on some parts, so that's the nice thing about it. But it is a smaller hammer, but it'll accept that bigger hammer. As I said, the hole is the same, so I put the bigger hammer on it. Because some footage didn't come out, and I'm going to kind of explain to you how you put that seal in there. Both the seals are how you put that slide hammer in there to use it. And now for the think again part. The think again part is that yes, indeed, you do need to use this this piece right here, and the web plate, as they call it. You do need to use that web plate. Some people call them like a spreader plate or whatnot, but you do need to use that. So let's go over to where the seal was. Okay, let's look inside here. So right in here where my finger is pointing, that's kind of the race that it sits on. And let me show you an old seal retainer, which is right here. There's your seal. You can see there's a little bit of damage on it, and that's what you do when you take them out. But that would be pressed in there, and what you do is we'll come over here. Let's see if we can set you down and do this in front of the camera. So you would take this, and imagine that this is inside that axle. You take this, go like that, slide that in, and then fold it back, and then it locks in. You have that part, and it's just sitting inside the axle. Okay, so let's just set that aside for now. That would be in the axle tube itself. So that's in there, okay, and it's kind of hanging out. Then what we would do is take our slide hammer and put our slide hammer on here, this bigger one. The other one's not big enough. It doesn't have enough force behind it. Then you take that, and then you take your web plate. I'll try to do this in front of the camera. Take your web plate and you just slide that up in there. Okay. And actually, we've got our web plate facing the wrong way. So let me show you. I'll take it over to the axle to kind of show you how that web plate would be. Okay. All right. So let's take this web plate over, and let's take this camera over, and let's go over there and let's have a look inside here. Okay. So your web plate would kind of sit like that. Okay, when it goes in. So now let's go back over here and let's just thread this on. Okay. And I suppose I could have showed you that after I kind of threaded it on, how it would be. So you thread this back a ways, not all the way. But what you kind of got to do is I'm going to take this out again just to show you. Obviously this is threaded inside. There's a pretty deep section for that to thread into. What you want to do is this is sitting inside the axle behind that seal, and you want enough of this so it's threaded on at least halfway. Okay, at least halfway, thereabouts. But you don't want to fully bottom it, and I'll kind of try to explain why you don't want to do that. So this is in here, this web plate is on, and so you got to give yourself enough room so that this will go that far into that hub, so that you can put that into this and thread it in about halfway. And what you'll be doing is that it'll be sitting in the hub. Okay, and make sure you don't cross thread. You get started and you'll turn this T-handle, and this will go up against the outside of the axle, and it'll get tight because you need it tight so there's no movement. And then you'll use a slide hammer to slide it, and then it'll be applying the force and not just bouncing off. So that's why you want to use that spreader plate. In addition to that, we'll bring you back over there. In most cases, not all the time, and it's not a bad idea to try it without it first, is that, keep in mind this is out already, but that's where it sits, is you're going to want to take and heat this up. You can use just regular propane, not even MAP gas. MAP gas burns a little hotter. So you can use regular propane and maybe heat it up for 5 minutes. You know, and most of that heat will stay here. It won't get back into other parts of the axle. You'll keep going around and around this, and where you're going to be wanting to heat is you're going to heat it up a little bit, but what you want to do is to try to heat this here and not the actual seal itself, because it expands. Well, you want this part, this thing, to expand. It's not going to be something you're going to see, but it's going to actually expand. Whereas if you heat the middle part, then that's going to expand and lock it in harder. And then you're gonna heat that up before you put that spreader in, and then you can put your spreader in while it's still hot. Careful not to burn yourself. And then you're gonna pull that, and they will come out. No, it's not going to come out in like 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it's going to take several bangs. The other thing, and I probably talk about this in the short bit of video I have of it, you want to wear some sort of glove, and you know, an anti-vibration glove would be real good. But even a winter glove, even if it's not wintertime, winter work glove can be nice because it has some padding to it. And it's not going to kill you if you don't use them, but it keeps the vibration off your hand when you're pulling those out. Unfortunately, I didn't get the whole thing on film, or even the highlight part where the seal comes out, which is what I wanted to do, but unfortunately I did not. It's a long story. Cameras do funny things, and you run out of battery power and all that good stuff. So anyways, that was kind of somewhat of an explanation of how you get that out. A puller that actually just pulls would be I think would be ideal. I do believe that they make something like that, so if you get a hold of it that fits that particular setup, that would be preferable. The other method is to take a rod, and unfortunately I've already closed up the other side so you can't really see all the way through. Yes, you can take a 6-foot rod, or they say 6 foot. I'd get an 8-foot one. I don't know if the camera's picking up on this. There are 4 little
notches here in the seating surface where that little, I believe they tell you to get a inch piece of solid pipe, and if you tilt that at an angle, it'll hit those corners, and you want to hit all four of these corners. Like a lot of people that haven't used that method, I didn't like the idea of shoving a piece of steel all the way through the axle tube, and you know, you might get something in there. Yes, you can miss all the gears and everything else because it's quite a bit smaller than the actual tube anyway, but my concern was stuff, more contamination getting in there or something like that, or a piece of steel coming off, little filings or something. So I didn't use that method, but I can see how that method would work if you needed to use it. I think the slide hammer's a pretty good compromise. Ultimately, the pulley would be a puller that was designed to pull that out would be the ideal situation, to use a puller that has the strength and is designed to pull that seal out, because it's not just like a regular oil seal where it's that thinner metal. It's actually like, it's almost like setting a race, you know, pulling a bearing race out or whatever. So anyways, that's kind of how that whole situation works. So I thought I'd just do an explanation of that, and hopefully I'll cut this video down and, you know, edit out my blabbling, as I like to call it sometimes. Alright, so throw some gloves on here just to cut down on the vibration in the hands. I mean, certainly you can do it without it, but it's more comfortable with them on.